What's up, guys? Ted from Immersion here, and I know I've been saying I was going to do these for a long time, and I haven't. I've been basically slacking every other time, but I'm doing it this month. What is that? I'm doing a full Dragon Plus article. I didn't want to do this in the most recent weekly update because it just covering a Dragon Plus issue just makes those videos so long. So I decided to go over this entire article. So this came out. This is, I think, this is the October issue. So as you can see, it's kind of Halloween. So if you're not familiar with Dragon Plus, I did a short review on this a while back. But basically, this is the equivalency of the old D&D magazines. They used to have a physical publication from way back in the day, even till all the way through 4th edition, had physical publications of both Dragon Magazine and Dungeon Magazine. This is Dragon Plus. This is sort of an amalgamation of both, and it's a digital distribution. It is both the website, dragonmag.com, as well as Dragon Plus, an app you can get on your mobile phone. Not only do you get the issues, but you can go here and click to see their news feed to keep up to date on all the news. So, we got this cool kind of human being eaten by a giant pumpkin, and we'll kind of go through. I'm going to skip the table of contents, and we'll just kind of go through it as we go through it. So, got this article here by Bart Carroll, who's just talking about his history reading old Dragon magazines, as you can see here. They do have this survey. You can go ahead and click this to take the survey and get a chance to win yourself a $50 gift card. So feel free to go and do that, and then more information. Leave your feedback. So, Deadstone Cleft. Christopher Lindsay offers a Ravenloft-style card reading, but one that hints of a giant-sized encounter. There's some actually really cool stuff in this issue, and some of this I actually want to potentially incorporate into my own game. I feel like I will be running Storm King's Thunder at some point in the future on the channel. We're doing Out of the Abyss is up next, and then eventually Storm King's Thunder, along with a separate campaign while we play Curse of Strahd in the background. We're doing a lot of stuff. It's just taking a lot longer to get all the different people together at the appropriate times to play through these things. So, Deadstone Cleft. Fall has arrived and Halloween is almost upon us. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to pick up Storm King's Thunder. This is a way, basically, to pull in Ravenloft into your existing Storm King's Thunder campaign. And I know I'm definitely going to do this in mine because I think it'd be hilarious. Not hilarious, but sort of like to see the knowing look on the party's face as they're like, what about mists? And then all of a sudden they're in Barovia. This particular one-shot takes place around Deadstone Cleft, an area in the adventure that is populated largely by stone giants and their allies. You'll want to read Chapter 6 of the adventure, Canyon of the Stone Giants, before you begin to incorporate these elements, so you can see where the horror experience diverges from what is written in the adventure itself. Again, it talks about the Taraka deck and how things are going to go with that. I'm not going to go too much into this because I don't really want to spoil it for those of you that are going to do this. Stone giants and other creatures can be transformed into zombies. It gives you the stuff to transform creatures into zombies, glyph deck, and so on and so forth. It shows you these are this Storm Giant Dreamstalker here is a new monster that's in Volo's Guide. And then earlier this year, it shows some, there's a PDF for that, and then the Dead House PDF as well, which is kind of the starter intro adventure for Curse of Strahd. So, this is a way to just sort of add a Barovian one-shot into an existing campaign. And there's no reason that your party can't end up in Barovia. The mists roll in, they end up in Barovia, and then the mists kind of roll out. And then they're no longer there. So, every issue they have an interesting take on the D&D ampersand. On the front cover, you can see it's this one here carved on a pumpkin. And there's an article all about what was done with that. So this issue is all about basically the person behind the carving of this crazy pumpkin and how, all the time it took and dyeing the pumpkin and making all these things. I mean, look at this. I can do this kind of stuff with sand. So you can see at the New York Botanical Garden, at the Enchanted Pumpkin Garden in Carefree, Arizona, and at the Mall of America in Minnesota. So this guy's name is... that for you in a second. Ray Villafane, founder of Villafane Studios. So, what else do we have? Again, this is, I think we talked about this briefly, but Betrayal at House on the Hill is a board game. There is a expansion was released, which was called, which escapes me, Widow's Walk. And this is going to be, I think this is being published by Wizards of the Coast. In addition to D&D, this issue of Dragon Plus sees us also exploring fellow brands with the Wizards of the Coast family, specifically an in-depth look at the new Widow's Walk expansion for the classic Avalon Hill game Betrayal at House on the Hill. Starting things off, Shelley Mazanoble from Avalon Hill first offers her introduction to the expansion and talks about her own introduction to Avalon Hill. Shelley Mazanoble, if you're not familiar, she's one of the mainstay faces on the Dragon Talk podcast. She's also wrote 2 books about D&D. One was Confessions of a Part-Time Sorcerer, which I think this is the link to both of them. And Everything I Need to Learn, I learned from Dungeons & Dragons, as well as this book here, Confessions of a Part-Time Sorceress, A Girl's Guide to Dungeons & Dragons. They're both good resources. Even if you're not a girl and you want to read about D&D, it kind of takes it to a base level as someone who... She's basically going into Dungeons & Dragons. This is 3.5, just point out, because it's an older book. But going into D&D with literally zero knowledge. And if you look at it from her perspective, as someone who's completely new, and you're new to D&D as well, it kind of... You probably will find that you connect with a lot of the kind of issues and things she might have gone through. At least that's what I found when I recommended it to some of my friends as well. So, again, this is an article all about the expansion. Magdalena is the widow involved in all of this. You can hear Shelley talk about it on the Dragon Talk podcast. And then there's a whole little article here about what's the scariest thing you ever had happen. And Jerry Hawkins, off the list. One time I was at a store, the clerk accidentally charged me $400 for a gallon of milk, which was put my account into overdraft right before rent was due. Little interviews at the bottom. Again, I'm not going to read through all of these interview questions because there's just a ton of stuff. We asked our contributors how they might consider making use of Betrayal at House on the Hill, Widow's Walk, and their components and scenarios as part of their D&D game. I, for one, am an ardent supporter of the cannibal-esque kit bashing. When was this posted? This was old stuff. Alright, so there we go. I'm going to move on to the next article. Advertisement for Volo's Guide. Okay, this is Dungeonology. This is a kind of a... I don't know if you're familiar with the Ology books. They're more of a... You can head to, like, ologybookseries.com or whatever it is. But they're a series of kids' books to kind of invigorate their interest in various things. So, if you think there's, like, Dungeonology, Dragonology, Monsterology, Dinosaurology, Piratology, Egyptology, you get the point. They're big books, you know. If I've got a copy of Volo's Guide here, it's like around this size, maybe a little bit bigger. And they're thick pages, and they have like cool stuff, you know, like fold out, pop out things. They're clearly for younger kids, but D&D just came out recently with Dungeonology, which is their own Wizards of the Coast official ology book, and it delves a lot into base D&D. It'd be a really good book. I'm going to do a separate review on that book in and of itself, but to introduce people to the Forgotten Realms and Volo, as well as Dungeons and Dragons in general. And to be completely honest, I know some veteran players that really should take a quick read through this book because it puts a lot of stuff on the table, a lot of stuff in perspective. And again, if you're running a Forgotten Realms campaign or playing in one and you don't know, pick up this book. It will give you a lot of information. So, again, we can see here, this is what the book looks like, the front cover. How did you delve into the lore of the Forgotten Realms before setting out to write? This is Matt Forbeck and Adam Lee. In one sense, not that far, in another sense, years deep. I started playing D&D back in '83, and I've edited a number of D&D books over the years. Starting back in the early '90s, I wrote part of Races of Faerun and Unapproachable East a decade or so ago, but I still have to brush up on everything that's happened in the realms in more recent times. That came in the form of books like Sword Coast Adventure Guide. but also inside information containing secrets and tidbits that hasn't been quite released to the public yet. We didn't want to turn Dungeonology into a master class in the Forgotten Realms. We wanted to make sure there was enough information in the book to delight a lore geek's fact-loving brain, but not to cram in so much context that it would turn into an academic text. Hopefully some readers will take the epic plunge and tour the wealth of lore that's out there. There are many nights of reading by candlelight awaiting those who answer the call. As you can see, there is stuff here like base races, base classes, and things like that. It's got humor to it. They show some magic items, weapons, adventurer's kit, like things you should take in your starter kit no matter what. Information on the 5 factions of the of the Forgotten Realms: the Order of the Gauntlet, Lord's Alliance, Zentarum, Harpers, and the Emerald Enclave. There's some stuff on maps and finding treasure and fighting off monsters. There's a big old fold-out map of the Forgotten Realms. That's pretty neat. Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Again, I'm not going to go too much into it because I am going to do a separate review on the book itself. This is a whole article about Chris Perkins' costumes and the people who helped design them for the various Acquisitions Incorporated. This was the dragon kind of costume that he wore for the PAX West one, which was super awesome if you got to go out and see it in any of the Fathom events locations, which was pretty cool. This was the kind of Myconoid one from a couple years back. So this is just all about like going in and did you know you're going to do this, and where can fabricalchemist.com is where you can find the information on the person who did all of the a lot of the work on that. Then we have Creative Halloween Cosplay for Dungeons and Dragons. This is 5 tips for D&D cosplay. A lot of the stuff you're seeing right here is for one of the Waffle crew from Amanda Sharp and Maris Mullally, who collaborated in some of Chris Perkins' costumes. This is them talking, I'm sorry, that was what we were just talking about. But the Dice Camera Actions, Holly Conrad takes over, because everybody did at TwitchCon, the Waffle crew and the folks that do Dice Camera Action, the Curse of Strahd playthrough for Wizards of the Coast, they all did cosplay for it. So we can go through this here. You can see she's doing scar makeup. This is Rigid Colloidian. This is a super, again, not to get too much into my cosplay background on any of this stuff, but Rigid Colloidian is a super, super easy to use scarification special effects makeup. Comes in a little jar. I have some actually just over in the back there. It's about this big, and you just paint it on with the little brush that comes with it. And what it does is it kind of sucks your skin in, if that makes sense. So see how her skin is kind of indented like that? That's what it does to make scars. You're going to want to add something to it, though, because it's going to look like this. And if you're not in a space where people can easily see that, you're going to want to put something in it, like some red makeup or something like that to sort of define it. Unless you want it to be older scars, then you could put a whole bunch and then it'll show through. But, again, this is Vampire Fangs doing ears. Contacts, I don't like contacts, but, take it to the next level. And this is Dirt. This is her playing her tiefling character, Strix. And again, here you can see everybody all dressed up. And there is her right there. Again, this one, I don't know why I keep saying again. I'm sorry, guys. I'm catching myself saying it, and it's annoying me. This is an article where Matt Chapman talks to Ari Salvatore about Hero, which is the finale of the newest Drizzt Do'Urden series, Homecoming. This is a series where Drizzt returns home to the Underdark. Personally, I haven't read it yet, so I'm way behind on my Drizzt books. But this kind of goes over... It was Archmage, Maestro, and now Hero. And this is the newest one. I don't know if this is the finale of Drizzt in general, or just the finale of the Homecoming trilogy. Because Drizzt has been around for forever. So I don't know if Ari Salvatore's just done. Is so infectious that we're left in no doubt that this will be a high point for fans of Drizzt. Salvatore describes the Homecoming trilogy as one storyline and says he feels as strongly about it as he did with Homeland, way back in the beginning, which is the first... I guess the first book, Homeland? I really had to get these 3 books right. First Archmage, then Maestro, now Hero. I had to get them right because I knew it was going to be a really big moment for Drizzt and for some of the other people around him, and I'm very satisfied, you can probably tell. A lot of times when I'm writing, I know the general strokes of the story, but the particulars surprise me all the time. Sometimes they surprise me like, boy, how am I going to get out of this? And other times they surprise me and go, wow, really? And this was a wow. When I wrote this book, it blew my mind at the end, and I'm absolutely psyched about it. Best of the DMs Guild. Again, this is something I've spoken about before, where Wizards of the Coast they did 2 Unearthed Arcana articles where they highlighted stuff that was on the DMs Guild. This now they're doing in Dragon Plus. They just kind of pull this out ahead of time. So the big one they've highlighted here is Journey to the Center of the Underdark, which I don't think I've actually read it, but I've seen it a lot. Designed for a party of 4 to 6 4th and 5th level characters. 10 diverse encounters, colorful NPCs, a lot about the creator, what inspired you to do this, and there is a sequel to it as well on the DMs Guild. What's your favorite part about creating an adventure? It's just a lot of background about the creator himself. New monsters, and then again, the Dark Lake Strikes Back. There is sequels to this. And I believe he was also the one... Yeah, he was also the one who did dragons. I really like this article. There are 2 separate dragons. There is a chromatic dragons and a metallic dragons. And this kind of fills the gap for the age variances in dragons. If you're familiar with older editions, dragons weren't just wormling, young, adult, and ancient. They had many levels in between. Young adult, juvenile, venerable, old, worm, great worm, etc. This kind of goes in and does that. For both chromatic, and there's another article that's also for metallic. And then they also go into, down the bottom, additional archetypes by Kyle Consolver. This I do have. This is sort of Ravenlofty-ish. All new themes. There's the Otherworldly Patron, the Shadow. And they kind of go into this information here. I believe these are both free to pick up, so you have to head over to the DMs Guild and check that out. But for them to highlight it in a Wizards of the Coast official thing, you know it's got to be worth it. Again, I plan to do both reviews on both of these because I have both of these, the coloring book and the Dungeonology book, so be on the lookout for that. Neverwinter set sail on the Sea of Moving Ice. They've added... I mean, look at the dragon turtle. Looks terrifying. But basically, there is now fishing and traveling via boat through the Sea of Moving Ice in the northern areas of the Sword Coast in Neverwinter. There's a lot of stuff with storm giants and things because it's been Storm King's Thunder. I honestly have to log in. I haven't played Neverwinter. I couldn't get into my account, so I wanted to log in just to check stuff out, but I haven't in a while. A whole article on Demogorgon because of Stranger Things. So this is basically, I mean, first of all, this is what the original Demogorgon looked like. I mean, we're talking old school stuff here, but that's what it looked like. And it talks about how the history and the mythology behind Demogorgon, all the way back to Greek mythology, things moving along into the Renaissance, D&D's Demogorgon, and then this is kind of early, and then 2000 to present. Here is... I don't know what edition that is, but that doesn't look very scary. This is the 4th edition Demogorgon, where he literally looks like a monkey face. As you can see here, this is, I believe, the front cover of the Monster Manual 2, I believe, for 4th edition, or maybe just a straight-up Monster Manual. And then here we've got some 5th edition terrifying Demogorgon, where him fighting Drizzt and Guinevere in the Rage of Demons storyline. And then, again, brought up because of Stranger Things. Storm King's Thunders and Neverwinter. This is a section where they kind of go over videos and various things. Talking about 4th Grade Giant Hunters, this is a really cool series. If you're not familiar, it has a lot of kind of famous people in it. It's DM'd by Matt Mercer. There's some other familiar faces from Critical Role and Ashley Johnson. But Brian Posehn, and you're also going to have Chris Hardwick and stuff like that. People like that, I should say. So there are familiar faces. It's a short series, only 7 episodes, which is kind of unfortunate, if you ask me, because it was really well done. I liked the characters, I liked where things were going with it, but unfortunately, 7 episodes. PAX West, you can watch the videos there if you want to see that. Unearthed Arcana, The Ranger. I'm not going to go into this, but this is basically them talking all about the new revised Ranger. For those of you who haven't seen it, again, it's a tricky... I keep saying again, I'm so sorry. It's tricky because things like this were published in old Dragon magazines. Dragon and Dungeon magazines had new content. It was never as official as it would be in a published source. Same thing with Unearthed Arcana. But I feel like they're writing these magazines, these Dragon Plus magazines, as if they were still that way. But by the time they release whatever the Unearthed Arcana stuff is, it's already been out on the regular site. So I guess if you only decided to read, quote, read, you know, the magazine, as it were, then you would learn about this. And there's a little bit of information from Mike Merle's, but there is that same information at the start of the Unearthed Arcana article. So it's just sort of like a cross-posting. Then they do these images, they've been doing these recently, where it's kind of a big, almost infographic comic image that shows you the entirety of the campaign. I think the biggest one that was most important for this was for Out of the Abyss, to put it in perspective about how far you have to travel to get through everything. This is the same thing for Storm King's Thunder. This is this first for next issue? Wait a minute. We skip ahead? We did. Sage Advice article. Again, I'm not going to talk... Again, stop saying that! I'm so sorry, guys. I've already covered this as they've come out. This shows some of the new feats, or not new feats, but issues with feats, issue with combat. Dragon Plus only comes out every 2 months, whereas Sage Advice articles come out once a month, and Unearthed Arcana comes out once a month, although now it's once a week. These are sort of playing catch-up. Again, if you only read these articles, or the magazines, this will explain a lot of that to you. Okay, Storm King Thunder map. Next issue will be sometime in the holidays. We'll be talking about the most intriguing DIY projects fans have cooked up to celebrate the game. There's more fieldwork from Volo, because Volo's Guide to Monsters is out, but it already is. Stuff for Neverwinter, as well as more revealing about the new Rock, Paper, Wizard card game. There's more from the Best of the DMs Guild, an in-depth look at a new Priestess class, further hints and tips on playing D&D and regular features. On playing D&D and regulars, features like Unearthed Arcana, plus a new map a month. Don't forget your D&D daily deliveries on their social media. Kind of the end of the article here. And there you have it. So, what was the map of the month? I didn't even see it. Oh, see, we skip all that? So, map of the month, with Halloween upon us, what better way to showcase than a couple of maps from Curse of Strahd. So you go ahead and click these to get the maps. Coffin Maker Shop, Baba the Saga's Creeping Hut, things like that. And you can see all the previous maps. Mike Schley is the guy who makes all these maps. Click on these to get them. You can even, looks like you can even download them too. So if you want to have these printed out for your own game, you can do so, or you can go to his website and pick them up. But anyway, guys, that was it for the Unearthed Arcana, the Dragon Plus article for this week, or the Dragon Plus magazine for this month. I'm sorry, guys, I'm so tired. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think about Dragon Plus in general. Do you think it's worth it? They don't really put out a lot of stuff that's new. Some of the cool lore articles, and again, the maps and things like that, and getting a little bit of behind-the-scenes information. But if you're looking for new content, Unearthed Arcana is the way to go. But what did you guys think? Did you like this issue? Would you like to see me cover more of these issues, perhaps when I'm not as tired in the future? Let me know. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you next time.